Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Thanks for joining me today. We are going to do a reading for the Divine Masculine and what he wants to say to you. So we've got our head space here, our heart space, and our action space, and then some clarifying cards down below. Thank you so much to my new subscribers. I put out a video every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So after this video, if you really like it, comment below. And then 2 days from now on Wednesday, we will have a pick a pile to check in a little bit further about how to reach reunion. So getting into it, here's our headspace. We have the Four of Pentacles, the Tower reversed, and Death. Woo! Lots of major arcana cards in this reading today. So what we're essentially looking at is the greatest transformation that the masculine has gone through yet. And he's realized that something to do with money. He's realized this 3D prosperity of his is really the cause of his suffering. And that happiness should no longer be the goal of his life. Rather, it should be something more that the 5D offers, a chance to transcend this suffering through meaning. It's about turning chaos into order, and you can see that here, that the masculine has put himself in the center of all suffering. As above, so below, as within, so without. And he's realizing that he can withstand any pressure, any chaos, so long as he doesn't hold too tightly to something. So these two cards are really related to possession and control. The masculine is practicing non-attachment right now. So, it could be like something in the past happened between you two where he felt that you were being a little too manipulative. And that might be why we've actually drawn this card. I can't handle your words right now. Because the masculine hasn't really learned to trust himself. He hasn't invested enough about thinking about this connection, or maybe he has and just hasn't come up with a conclusive answer to figure out what's true. And this is a really jarring place to be, because if you don't know what's true yourself, then how can you trust what anybody else is saying? You have nothing to measure it by. I feel like the masculine is really existing in multiple realities and dimensions at this point, and they're having trouble letting go, surrendering, and just accepting things for as they are. So this is the lesson of chaos, and we're all going through this with the pandemic. It's showing us how we feel when we're out of control in order to level us up so we can get better when other forms of chaos come along. And it's about balancing and juggling that energy, because chaos isn't always in the form of a pandemic. It's literally whenever we feel that something isn't going our way. And this happens a lot more than we realize. And I think that we are just, in some cases, ill-equipped and uninspired to handle it correctly when it's a little thing as when it's a big thing. So now Spirit has really given us this big thing with this virus so that we can manage all the other little things later. And when we get our values straight, put that into context and not make mountains out of molehills. So here's what we have in our heart space. We've got the Hierophant, we've got the Devil, and we have the 10 of Wands in reverse. And I love the fact that it's increments of 5 here. So we're really dealing with virtue and vice. Now, the basis of evolution in some cases, people have said, come down to nature versus nurture. Evolution is helping us, or virtue, I should say, is whatever helps us advance versus vice, which hinders us. So we have virtue represented by the Hierophant here, and we have vice represented by the Devil. Two very strong opposing forces. So earth signs are definitely represented here. I see a lot of Capricorn energy. But since the sun is in Taurus right now, we're all dealing with this kind of resistance to change, which characterizes a lot of earth signs that really want to build on something they foresee as stable. And I think that the virtue and vice here is that your partner, your divine masculine, is really having trouble deciding whether or not to forgive or forget. He doesn't believe that he can do both at the same time. Forgiveness implies to him that there's kind of a codependency. If I forgive you this time, is it going to happen again? Am I just going to let you get away with bad behaviors? How do I put up boundaries so that this never happens again? And at the same time, if I just forget things, then maybe I'm teaching you by proxy that avoidance or ignoring something means it's less important to me. So he's really having trouble toggling between these two dualities here. And the reality is that you can have both, you know? You can have this very loving energy of forgiveness while at the same, and putting the past behind you, while at the same time remembering that it happened and putting up boundaries so that it won't happen again. But the masculine feels very polarized right now. So he's really being challenged in his heart space not to have such strong opinions or live in some serious absolutes. And I think that that's what spooked him in this connection, is that you triggered his realization that he doesn't have all the answers and that he can't necessarily build a relationship when he feels so damaged and ill-equipped to handle what triggers him or what makes him feel chaotic. So that's where I got spooked comes in. Now, the fact that we don't have this non-linear path of numbers here with the 5, the 10, and the 15, because we do have the 10 of Wands in reverse, signifies to me that, you know, it's not a linear path, but he's going to get there. He just knows for certain that he doesn't want to feel the negativity of the devil card anymore. He doesn't want to feel negative about himself, about you, or about this connection. He wants to become his own teacher, as signified by the Hierophant, and trust in the path that he's creating. So that is the heart space. Now, for the action space, we have the 4 of Cups, the 2 of Cups, and the Ace of Cups, all cups. So crazy. So what we're really dealing with here is anything that signifies emotional or spiritual abundance. And the thing that's come through for me just really strongly is that the divine masculine is saying, I do not want to come through for you until I have something to offer. So there's a serious lack of confidence on his part here. And he knows to a certain extent that you want commitment, as signified here by the 2 of Cups in reverse. He knows that you're looking for him to become open, honest, and vulnerable with the throat chakra blue color of the Ace of Cups in reverse. But there's an element of greed here. And in every single one of these sections, this one's often called the miser card. And here, the greed, of course, with the vice of the devil. So it kind of suggests that that's his vice here, and that the pandemic is really robbing him of the trash and baggage that rats often find food in. Not to say that he's a rat, but he's kind of embodying this miserly energy here. And he's being robbed of that sustenance. So, you know, I think that he recognizes your beauty, and that you're still connected to him, and that there are still things that he has to learn there, definitely. I also think that he knows that you're going to be together soon, but that he doesn't want to come forward, essentially, until he feels like he has that money or the time to spare, or even truly this vulnerability. And he doesn't believe that you're suffering as much as he is, and he doesn't want to come forward at this time and ask for help because he feels like a loser. So we see the masculine going back and forth between a lot of things, back and forth between chaos and order, back and forth between vulnerability and egoism. And that's really, in my opinion, the crux of this connection, as the masculine represents that order. And you see a lot of times with guys, like they try to fix everything. Like you come to them with their problems or your problems, and they're like, all right, here's a solution. And a lot of the time the feminine just wants the masculine to listen. So there's a tendency in the divine masculine to really want to solve problems for you. And I think he hasn't really figured out that in this role, the transmutation of chaos, which is often represented by the feminine, is just one part and parcel of this connection. You guys get to build this order together. You guys get to go through these dark nights of the soul together in order to consciously raise the vibration of humanity. So it's not really about one or both of you. It's not about competition. It's about this cohesiveness. And the masculine really has to get through these vices that are somehow put there in his mind to validate his behavior or his ego, and start thinking more about the collective. He needs to start thinking more about things outside of himself. So I have a new deck, and I drew this card from the Practice You deck. And I asked the question, how can we help our divine masculine, or how can we best help ourselves through this transit during this time? And I got this beautiful card, which is really indicative of the world. And again, you see that beautiful blue throat chakra color. This is how I remember to see each day as a gift. What memories open your eyes and soften your gaze? So I really think that going within and looking at your connection for yourself is going to drive the masculine to do the same thing. And there's something in the past that triggered him right now. There's something that, and it might not even be in your connection, it might be in his childhood or to something to do with his family or friends, or an incident that really scarred him in his life. And he needs to find the gratitude in that situation. He needs to find how that memory shaped him for the better, and stop clinging to the idea that it's traumatized him in the ways that it has. So go within, do some meditations, check out the very corners of your mind, and look into maybe those moments in your relationship where you sensed a change, where you sensed him pulling away, and meditate upon that. And that will be transmuted over that connection. And I know that it will help him solve those answers, because we as feminines can't do that work for them. They have to be willing to let go of it. So that's the message for today. And I hope it resonated well with you. Please let me know down in the comments. On Wednesday, we're going to do a pick-a-pile to see how we can best bring about union. And if you'd like a reading of your own, go ahead and shoot me an email. I am going to have a store soon, and there will be tons of different spreads to choose from. So that's your forecast for what the Divine Masculine wants to say to you for the week. I'll see you next week.